Hi everyone, this is the video I promised you to compensate the fact that we didn't have the time to cover everything in the last lecture. So where are we? We are talking now about the Calvo model, but what we had is indexation. Okay, so we will consider a specific case of indexation in a Calvo model. So just as a small refresher, in the Calvo model, we consider that the firm had a probability 1 minus theta to adjust its price in an optimal way, yeah, at each period. And there was a probability theta that it cannot, okay? Can change its price optimally. The difference with the Calvo model here, the small extension that we had, is that then the price change according to an indexation, okay? And we say that the growth rate then of the price of the firm who could not adjust their price, the share theta of the firm who could not, who did not have the opportunity to change their price, is psi t. Okay, so just the growth rate of the price that could not change their price optimally. Yes, so that's what we had. So basically, what this means is that, for example, if we take the price that is set by a firm at a time t plus k, when t is the last time the firm was able to optimally adjust this price, well, it is equal to the price that the firm decided to set at the period t multiplied by the product y is equal to 1 until the period we are in, so k, multiplied by this multiplied by the product of all this indexation growth. Okay, so that basically just means that the price that the firms has in the period t plus k is equal to the optimal price that she set multiplied by the growth rate that she had that basically she faced if she did not manage to change her price in t. Okay, so that's one new expression for the price. If you want to of the firm price, if you want to express it in real term, you just divide this by the index of the price at this period. Okay. So basically that's the setting of our model, and we know that by considering the profit maximization problem of the firms, we use the first order condition related to the price setting, and by playing a bit with the equation and the different first order condition, you can find then the famous Phillips curve of this model that looks a bit particular when we had indexation. So the difference with respect to the classic Calvo model is just that instead of just having this, yes, for the price, you have the entire expression. Okay, you have this that was had for the price. Okay, that make enter this parameter psi t, that is the index rate inside the final equation, because if you have your Phillips curves and that after you linearize it, you obtain this expression that is the change in the inflation rate minus the change in the indexation is equal to a parameter, a constant, 1 minus theta multiplied by 1 minus beta multiplied by theta. So as a refresher, beta is our preference for present parameter. Yeah, the intertemporal, let's say, preference parameter divided by theta. multiplied by a specific term that we just consider a bit as a constant here for the sake of simplicity, but then this term is equal to 1 minus alpha. So 1 minus alpha is basically the parameter that is related to labor in the production function, divided by divided by 1 minus alpha plus alpha times epsilon. So epsilon is just the elasticity of substitution between the different varieties in the economy. And so that's just this. We will consider it obviously as a constant. It's multiplied technically by the optimal price of the firm at the time t. Okay, but that's just entered as a constant here in this global equation. Because this price is basically the same for the firm who can change their price at the period t. Okay, so that's why. And so basically we just have this equation multiplied by the change in the marginal costs. Okay, so the change in the marginal cost is where we have change in our real economies. Okay, there are basically shocks that happens or different phenomena that can happen in our supply real terms, and we can see that from the Phillips curve it will be related to nominal variable, basically the price. Yes, in the right-handed equation part. So from the Phillips curve we know also that we had beta multiplied by ET. So ET, as a refresher, it's just the expectation you have on the variables that are in the bracket. Yeah, and so you have this expectation basically of inflation that is not partially compensated by the expectation on the indexation. Okay, so basically that's the Phillips curves, or Neo-Philipsian Phillips curve of our Calvo model, but we had indexation. So the big difference with respect to the classic Calvo one is that now we have test terms that are entering basically in the equation. Okay, so just to repeat some things, some elements that we discussed during the sessions. We see that the relationship between the marginal costs MCT, yes, that is here, and inflation, so the right-handed part of the equation, will be weaker if theta is higher. Okay, that is because if theta is higher here, it means that a low share of firms are able to adjust their price optimally at the period t, and mechanically it means that if the price change in a lower extent, it means that inflation is also lower. Okay, if they cannot change their price, there are no change basically in the inflation. At least this firm does not contribute to it. So that's the idea behind. So what we have also in this equation is the impact of inflation at the following period here, right? So remember that when we were discussing this phenomenon, while expected inflation in the future will have an impact on inflation at the current period, there is this idea that if high inflation is expected in the further period, when choosing optimally their price, the share of the share 1 minus theta of the firms who can adjust this price at the current period, they will set higher price to take into account that the price will be higher at the next period, that may be that they could not have the opportunity to change their price at that moment. Okay, so that's where that's why we have inflation expectation on the inflation at the next period inside this Neo-Keynesian Phillips curve. Yeah. Okay, but now we discussed the marginal cost and the inflation at the next period, but we did not really discuss the indexation yet. So what is its role? To talk about that, we decided to define a specific way we index the things. So in the exercise 2, we consider that this indexation psi is basically a geometric average of the inflation at the steady state. So exponent 1 minus W, minus omega parameter, sorry, multiplied by the inflation at the sorry, not at the next period, but at the previous period. Yep, exponent W. Okay, so that's basically the geometric average that will determine this indexation. So the geometric average between past inflation and inflation at the steady states. Okay, so so we can just substitute this indexation scheme into the Phillips curve that we obtain here, and just to do so, we can just solve for the period T inflation. So basically, to do so, we will just first linearize this second equation that we just this indexation we just assumed, and by doing so, it's well, you can even do it just with the log linearization. That is simpler. You obtain that the change in the indexation in that case is basically equal to W multiplied by the change, the percentage, the change in terms of percent, of course, of the inflation at the previous period. Okay, so that's what we obtain. And now that we obtain this, we can just plug this third equation in our Neo-Keynesian Phillips curve that is shaped by our Calvo and indexation assumptions. Okay. So now that we have that, we can go a bit further. And well, we have then the inflation rate minus W multiplied by the inflation rate at the change in the inflation rate at the previous period. Yep. That is basically equal still to 1 minus theta multiplied by 1 minus beta theta divided by theta multiplied by this element multiplied by the change in percent of my marginal costs. Yeah. Plus then beta multiplied by ET, expectation of the growth rate of the inflation at the next period, minus W multiplied by the percentage change of the inflation rate at the period. Okay, so basically that's what we did in TP, and we did not manage really to go further because there was probably an element missing somewhere. But from this equation, we can directly just take that element and put it on the left side. So at the end, we find that the growth rate of inflation multiplied by 1 plus beta W. Okay, we don't have the expectation term that is following because we know what inflation now is, right? Is equal to 1 minus theta multiplied by 1 minus beta multiplied by theta divided by theta. So nothing changed in the marginal costs coefficient. Plus now then beta multiplied by the expectation on basically still the inflation at the next period. But now what we had here, of course, is that we have now also W multiplied by the inflation at the previous period that is entering here. Okay, and the percent growth of the inflation rate. Yes. Okay, so that's basically the term we have. And so what we, at the end, we end up basically just by divided everything, we can find a final expression for the percentage change in the current inflation as basically this parameter that still depends negatively of theta divided then by theta multiplied by 1 plus beta and W. So the relationship between the marginal cost and the inflation is slightly changed in the sense that it will have a lower impact if this W, so that's basically the share in the indexation that is related to the past inflation is big. So if past inflation contributes a lot in this indexation, it will lower the impact of the marginal cost. So basically, we can think that this comes from the fact that the firm will have then in that case it means that inflation is not it means that past inflation contributes more in the determination of the price. So I guess it's because the firm that can change then their price probably I have to think about it. I will maybe not tell something now because I'm not sure, but I will guess that it's the behavior of all this firm. It's all the price of this firm that are not changing. That I guess have an impact on those firms who can basically change their price. So you have to think about that. Okay, so that's not the most important thing here. But now what we have is that we also have past inflation that is entering in this equation, and we see that we have an impact of the change in the past inflation on our current inflation, okay? Plus this parameter multiplied still by the expectation of the inflation in the future. So that's basically our final Philip curves when we make the assumption that the indexation scheme looks like this. Okay. So from what we have now, it's basically that we with indexation. So that's mean if we have in our case, if we have the past inflation that is entering, that means that if we have this W that is bigger than 0, yeah, basically, we have this term that appears in our new Neo-Keynesian Phillips curves, right? We will call it 1, 2. A new Neo-Keynesian Phillips curve here, basically that is entering through the term psi t, and the difference that it makes here is that we have a partial impact. We have now an impact of past inflation on current inflation. That means that when in the classic Calvo model we have only future inflation that is playing. So that means that at the end in the price determination, the firm were forward-looking. Here with the indexation, firms will also be backward-looking. They will consider, they will change their price according also to past inflation. in the sense that it happens through this indexation. Yes, that force a bit past inflation to play a role here.